Greetings, and in this short video presentation we're going to see how we go about using our log files in Linux for troubleshooting. I'm currently logged on as root to my Linux server and we have a terminal open, so let's go ahead and get started. Troubleshooting is the main reason people create logs. Often you'll want to diagnose why a problem happened with your Linux system or application. An error message or a sequence of events can give you clues to the root cause, indicate how to reproduce the issue, and point out ways to fix it. In this lab, we will learn to troubleshoot errors in a Linux system using some of these log files. The Journal D is the new system for managing logs. We can use the Journal D to view and determine when a service failed to start. So what I've done here is I've typed in journal CTL. Now I'm going to hit enter, and it brings up a very long log file of current events, and here I can try to troubleshoot why a system or a role on my server did not start. Currently there are no errors inside of my Journal D file, so we're going to go ahead and generate one by stopping and then trying to start the Apache HTTPD service, and we'll see what happens in just a moment. To break this sequence, I'm just going to type in Control-C. That brings me back to my prompt. I'm going to type in clear and clear my screen. And now we're going to go ahead and open up the httpd.config file using nano. Hit enter, and there's my file. Now you know by now that if we mess with this file and we do anything or we insert any information into this file that the Apache service doesn't like, Apache service will not start. So all we got to do is just go on down to the end, and we're going to type in any word we want. In this case, we're just going to type in Apache. So at the very bottom of this httpd config file, I'm just going to type in a word. My word's going to be Apache. I'm now going to do a Control-X. It's going to ask me if I want to save the changes to the buffer. I'll type in Y for yes, and then I'll just hit enter, and we're back to the prompt. Back at my prompt, we're going to stop the HTTPD service using the systemctl stop command. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. Comes back to the prompt letting me know that it completed successfully. We're now going to try to restart the HTTPD service, and I've gone ahead and used the same systemctl space start switch, and we're going to go ahead and see what happened, and it says it failed. I'm now going to go ahead and check the status of the HTTPD service. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. In just a moment it comes up and it just tells me that it failed, gives me a reason why it failed, and now we can go ahead and check our log to get a little bit more information. So what we're going to do is we're going to parse this journal CTL log, and we're going to look for something specific just to HTTPD. So I've typed in journal CTL space -u space HTTPD. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and it comes up and it gives me some information about what actually failed. So if you're not used to reading the syntax of a log file, you have to learn to slow down and look for something very specific. Here we see that we have a line that said the syntax error on line 354 of the file. Okay, so, and it said there's an invalid command, Apache, perhaps misspelled. So what we did to the httpd config command shows up directly into this journal CTL file, giving us an idea where we can start our troubleshooting. I'm going to go ahead and expand my screen here so you can actually see the entire error message. And here we see that it tells us everything that we did up inside of that config file. So now that we know what is causing the problem with the HTTPD service not starting, we can go back to that config file and remove that bogus word, and then we can try to start the service again. So I'm going to go ahead and do a Control-C and get out of this. So I'm going to use my up arrow, and I'm going to bring up my nano command one more time, and we're going to go back to the file. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to my keys. On the right side of my keyboard, I actually call that the keypad. I'm going to use the page down. So I'm going to go ahead and click in here. I'm going to go ahead and page down. It's going to page one line at a time. I'm just going to keep paging until I get to the bottom. And there's that word. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my up arrow, and now I can just back that off. Now I can hit Control X. It's going to ask me if I want to save the changes. I will say Y for yes. I will hit Enter. We're back at the prompt. Use my up arrow, and I will now try to start the HTTPD service. And it comes back letting me know that it completed successfully. So let's go ahead and do a status. And there it is in green. So we fixed the error using our log file. I'm going to go ahead and get back to my prompt. I'm going to type in Control C, and that I'm going to type in clear my prompt, and I'm back up to the top of my terminal. So we're going to go back into our journal D log, and we're going to look for, again, the HTTP service, but we're also going to look for failures this time using the -F switch. So I've typed in journal CTL space -U space HTTPD space -F. Go ahead and hit enter. It comes up, and now it's going to tell me exactly when this service actually failed to start. Now after boot up, there is a system check that we can do to look for services that failed to start. And we can use the system CTL space --failed command. And if I hit enter, it's going to come up and it's going to show me that my lm_sensors.service loaded, but it failed. The description is what it does. It's the hardware monitoring sensors. So it tells me that it's currently failed to load. We can also look for any errors related to the process ID of a failed service. So for this part of the lab, I'm going to go ahead and stop the HTTPD service one more time using the system CTL space stop command. And then I'm going to run the system CTL status space HTTPD.service command. And I'm going to go ahead and do that now. It comes up and lets me know that it failed to start. To see if there's anything related to the process ID that's stopping the service from starting, I can go ahead and run another command. I'm going to do a Control C here. So I've identified that the process ID assigned to the HTTPD service is 3345, and now I'm going to use the system CTL underscore process ID, all in caps, equals 3345. Now if there's any errors, this is going to come back and show me those errors, but if there's not, it's just going to come back to the prompt. In this next portion of the lab, we're going to see how we go about getting a GUI interface to check our log files. I'm going to go to Activities. Up here in the search bar, I'm just going to type in logs. Now if it's installed, this icon here for logs will disappear. If it's not installed, just click on the icon from the desktop and it will go ahead and install automatically. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and my log generated file pops up here. Now you'll notice that everything that we did earlier is present in here. But the cool thing about this generator, this log file generator, is that we have important all, or we can look at applications, we can look at the system, and we can look at security, and we can look at hardware. So it's a pretty good tool for troubleshooting different types of hardware, security, system applications, or whatever it is you're having a problem with that's up inside of your Linux server or workstation. And so if you're a Windows guy and you're coming over to the Linux side of the house now trying to get up to speed with using Linux, you can see that there are a lot of different log files that you can utilize. And there's a lot of different ways to get to these files. A lot of different commands, a lot of different types of log files, very granular log files that go all the way up into the startup and into the system processes as the machine boots up. There's a lot of different things that you can get out of a Linux system, whether it's a workstation or a server, just using the logs. That's all I have for you right now in this short video presentation, and I hope it was informative. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out and contact your instructor, and I'll see you in my next video.